him what he wanted his intro to be. He just said he wanted to be introduced as Lord of the Bollocks. Please give it up for Phil Rose.
I'm going to do my best to do a British accent tonight. And unlike most of the comedians tonight who had the decency not to be around in the 70s, I actually was around in the 70s. Which is why I don't only wear my cool punk rock shades, but underneath I have to wear the prescription version as well. I was actually born in 1967, which immediately preceding the Summer of Love. I was born in September, which I like to think of as the Autumn of Hate. And so I do remember the 70s. And the 70s is kind of a difficult era for me to satirise because it's kind of not long ago enough to be in the highest... I can't see a fucking thing. It's not long enough... Oh shit, now I can see everything. It's not long enough to go to be in the high school history books, but it's too long ago for anyone to really remember, and so everybody is kind of ironically idealising the 1970s when I was there and it was bollocks. It was really shit. The clothes were shit. There was crimpline. There was polyester. And there were leisure suits. Anyone remember leisure suits? Yeah. Woo! Everybody has to go, woo! Who was that being like? Oh, well, you know Phillips. Woo! It's not 1970s. And I also, I don't know, do people know about key parties? Have you heard of key parties? So for those of you lucky enough not to know what a key party is, a whole bunch of couples would get together at a host's house. And this host's house would be, the wallpaper would be yellow and orange flowers. And the carpet would be flowers. And the couch or the sofa, as we used to call them back then, would look much like a meadow, just covered in flowers, basically. Any pictures that you might have on the wall of flowers were basically invisible for an entire decade. And then there'd be a bowl in the kitchen, and all the men would put their keys into this bowl. And it was always the men, because women were considered too silly to drive in the 1970s. And then the women would have to pull out one of these keys, and whoever owned the keys they picked out, they then had to go and fuck. Which is not terribly pleasant, but I think the clothes and the key parties were inextricably linked in the 1970s, because the way these people looked, if you didn't bring in, rules of the game and pure chance, everybody was leaving alone. Excuse me. I'm a punk, I have to get shit-faced. So, I should be taking speed as well, but I'm too old. You get this man with his in this leisure suit with the enormous collars, and a woman in a flowered muumuu who basically against the wall looked like just a hovering head. And they'd have to go off and have sex, and it was hugely depressing, but at least she knew she was going to get a ride home afterwards. Because at the end, the bowl was empty except for one bicycle lock. And that guy was still standing at the side in his leisure suit style high visibility vest, all alone. And he was probably the same guy who in PE was always the last to get chosen. So I wondered whether that might be a nicer way to do PE selection. Everyone throw a jockstrap into the bowl and put it out. So the music was shit, the politics was shit, everything was shit. But not everything was shit, because actually, it's much like me after 7 pints. Because the 70s actually brought about the cultural event that I most enjoy, that I love more than anything, which was punk rock. And so, as a British person, I'm going to name British punk rock stars because Yanks don't understand rock. It's actually a Johnny Rotten quote. Johnny Rotten, Dave Vanian, Iggy Pop. There you go, American, just for you guys. If it hadn't been for these key parties and these terrible, all this awful shit, they'd have had nothing really to rail against, and the glorious nihilism that they produced would never have happened. But oh God. I'm just remembering about the other unpleasant sexual side of the 1970s. Which was the BBC. BBC was a playground for paedophiles in the 1970s, in case you didn't know. Jimmy Savile, Gary Glitter, Pete Townsend, who am I forgetting? Who am I forgetting?
Cliff Richard!
Cliff Richard, definitely Cliff Richard. Jimmy, I forget his last name, was just another paedophile Jimmy at the BBC, you know. And I think when you applied to be a celebrity at the BBC, the application form included the question, are you now or do you intend to be at some point in the future a kiddie fiddler? If you were done yes, you were in, basically. And a favourite line in the 70s that people used to say a lot was, you know, I'm just doing it for the kids. And I always kind of thought that was a raison d'etre. It turns out it was a form of currency, apparently. And but you know, like I say, we had punk rock, and that cleared the air in terms of music, and got rid of. Well, I didn't get rid of Gary Glitter. It took jail to get rid of him, I guess. But the other thing that was terrible in the 1970s, at least in Britain, was comedy. It was really appalling. It was all about. To make fun of the Packies and the Puffs, which translates to anyone who isn't white, heterosexual. But then my other person who comes closest as I ever get to heroes, because I don't really believe in heroes, because I like the Stranglers, and that's a really in reference for anyone who knows the Stranglers. But the closest I come to a hero would actually be Andy Kaufman, who's kind of been referenced already once. Hooray! And he definitely liked to. Sorry, my arm's getting tired. It's all that wanking. He definitely wanted to do something a little different and to really shock the audience. And I mean, I know a lot of you probably know Kaufman's work and how different it was to what was going on at the time. And I would like to bring a little bit of Kaufman to my piece. I always like to do something that is really guaranteed to surprise the audience, like, I don't know, like maybe just finishing my piece in the middle of a... No!
We'll deal with it. Alright, guys.
First I was afraid, I was petrified. I thought all the Allied powers would be by my side. I spent all these nights awake, cursing Mao Zedong. You're not that strong. And soon you'll form the Viet Cong und Erstaunens here. From outer space, I walked in to see that stupid fucking mustache on his face. I should let the Berlin Wall fall, let Truman lose to Dewey. If I just known for 1 second he'd come fist the KGB. Oh, now go! Stop that Cold War! Oh, fuck you, Churchill. You're not Prime Minister anymore. Weren't you the one who tried to take all Gandhi's pie, and did he crumble? No, he fucked you with the hunger strike, not I. I will survive. As long as I get to Argentina, I'll know I'll stay alive. I have so much life to live, so much dirty crap to give. I will survive. I will survive. Jawohl!